Okay, and I'm rolling.
He's not in position yet. Tell me when you're ready.
I'm rolling.
Okay. Coming. Very cool.
Okay, I'm rolling.
There you go.
Okay, I'm rolling.
When you're ready.
Okay, I'm rolling.
Okay, ready?
Okay, I'm rolling. Too far back.
Far back.
And I'm rolling.
Okay. You get closer yet, can't he?
Yeah, and I'm rolling.
Here he comes. How's that?
Not bad.
Closer yet?
No, actually, close is fine. I'm rolling.
Turn wide up. Perfect.
Okay.
Steady! Stay with.
I'm rolling.
Okay. Pretty cool.
Okay, I'm rolling. Let's try it.
Ready? Now that was cool.
Yeah.
Speed up them.
Yeah. Okay, I'm rolling.
Okay, ready? On first to second. You want me to just run through the gear?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Maybe we can do a real good shot, like a car in the dark down the building, spin it up in there, building fire, flats now. There you go.
Okay.
Same thing?
Yep. Okay, try it again. Okay. Hand on the steering wheel, like you're driving.
Okay. Ready?
Yep. Out the window. There, you gotta look out the window.
Okay.
There you go. Okay, go ahead. Okay. That may or may not work. Okay, go ahead and start her up. Okay, give me some good RPMs. Let it go back to 1, let it go back to 1,000, and then just take it all the way up to 5, 4 or 5. Okay. Okay. Again. Okay. Okay, once more. Give me a couple of double pumps.
Have to go all the way back again, or?
No, that was okay. Okay.
The life pretty much continues the same over there, except for the back of all the extra.
Okay.
Hey Dave,
Yeah.
you have a phone in the van?
No.
I'm gonna ride over and track and get.
Okay, once more.
Still gotta pick the Mustang up at 5 o'clock. We'll be out of here. Oh yeah. What do we got? 3.
Good.
Pick it up.
By then it'll lead it too, because those kind of cars, they come on the scene, everybody goes, ooh, wow, and then something else comes out, and it's like, oh, yeah, we've seen that. That's a real trendy segment. It's like, what have you done for me lately? For the Mustang people love the cars.
This isn't anything like the Pleasure Shore. When you go into a break, they do this kind of thing. They hold her into the car comes up. You've seen this thing over there. Okay? This car. Yeah. As long as my friend Rob.
It's gonna be, just gonna drive it.
Tell me when.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, take us back. I guess how the company was approached back in September of last year, how this all came about, especially with the Corvette, or not the Corvette, but the Camaro having been on the scene.
Yeah. What happened was the Peterson Publishing approached our public affairs people and asked if Ford would be interested in participating in a 0 to 100 back in zero contest.
Start over.
Great.
No. What happened is last fall, he's going to do it again. Hang on for a second.
Let's go ahead.
Is he gonna rip off
Yeah, he's going to go right now. Hang on.
Great.
Okay, once again, from last September.
Okay, last September, Peterson Publishing approached our public affairs people and asked them if we'd be interested in participating in a 0 to 100 and back to zero contest that they had that they were putting together for the fall. And we said, yeah, sure, we'd like to be. And they sent us some rules and what it is we could build. They had 4 classes, as I recall at the time, everything from pure stock all the way up to some pretty heavily modified single-purpose kind of car. So what we did is we kicked it around, but we were right in the middle of the Mustang launch at the time, and so we had to take care of that first, and we basically didn't make it last year. But we asked them, are you guys still interested? Because we'll go ahead and build a car, and they said, oh, absolutely. Dan Ross said, yeah, we'd love to do the article. And about that time, we saw what Chevrolet had to offer. They had a 572 cubic inch all aluminum Camaro. They call it a ZL1. So we knew the competition was going to be pretty stout. And we decided, now what can we do to match that? Well, when you're doing 0 to 100 and back to zero, you got to have a lot of accelerating power. So we went back and dug out one of the old Boss Hemis, and we punched it out to 604 cubic inch to make sure we had enough horsepower. This engine in the car behind us dynoed at 675 horsepower. So we had plenty of accelerating capability. Now we had to stop it. And so we asked our friends in chassis engineering, and they really came to our aid. They came up with all kinds of ideas to help us out. And I think we finally selected these Brembo brakes in the car, made a lot of heavy chassis modifications to the car. And we're looking forward to a car here that can, we haven't done the first 0 to 100 back to zero with it yet, but we're looking forward to a car that can do it in maybe 12 seconds or less, which would make it faster than the old legendary numbers on the Cobra Roadster.
Tell me about the moving it on us.
Just let it cool down a little bit. So how'd I do?
175.
1175?
123.
I'm the man.
Reaction time still needs work.
Yeah, I know.
You'll have to talk to John about that.
No, this is the guy you should talk to.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have given it a little more power. I just wanted to be conservative. And I think my burnout helped too. The second gear burnout.
Really?
Yeah.
So you put it in
Put it in second gear. It'll lock it in second gear. It won't go through first gear and then go through second gear. So what it does is it doesn't let the RPMs get away from it.
Okay.
So if you do that, just get her up there and just sneak your foot off the brake. It breaks the back end loose, but then you come back down with the
keeps the
brake.
RPM right.
It'll keep you forward. I mean, it'll keep you from going forward, and it'll let the tires go up, and you can do a good burnout, and
Tires are clean. And
so
ready
on
to
and so
run.
forth. I'm a hammer and a camera. I can't help it.
It's a good run.
Oh, it felt good. I mean, and I just squeezed it. I didn't feel the edge yet, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot more left in the car today. So I feel really
I'm
good
ready
about
for another run.
Go ahead. Well, let's let it cool down. Let's give it about, I'd say about 10 minutes
No problem.
to knock the heat out of it. And then next guy can go up and take it.
Sounds good.
That's snoozing, man.
Was he the one who ran it?
He can do that to drag races. They take it all in spirit.
Backtrack for me about the engine. And where it came from and what was decided to be put in it.
When we figured out how much horsepower we knew we were going to need over 600 horsepower to compete against the Camaro. We started thinking about, well, how many ways can you go out and get 600 horsepower? And we could have put a lot of technology and spent a lot of money on one of the new high-tech.
Hey, John, come around this way just a little bit. There you go.
Let's wait for these guys to get moving. One more time.
We're up.
About what you knew you needed.
Yeah, when we started out, we made some basic calculations, figured out we needed 600 horsepower at least to compete against this Camaro. And you start looking at all your engine alternatives that can give you 600 horsepower. We could have gone with a real high-tech and brought one of the new modern engines in. It would have required a lot of hardware, and it was just a major calibration effort in getting everything to work right. So we said, well, look, why don't we just go ahead and do it with displacement? There's no ladder that says there's no replacement for displacement. You want power, just make the engine big and you'll get it. So we started searching in the Ford catalogs, SBO catalogs, and said, well, here's something we can do. We can build ourselves one of these old Boss Hemis. And we sat down with our engine builders and consultants at Roush, and they said, yeah, we can put one of those things together for you. I said, well, we got to get over 600 horsepower. He said, no problem. So because the engine and the acceleration part was only half of the contest. The other half of the contest was the car's got to stop, and it's got to stop twice as fast as it accelerates. So we didn't want to spend a lot of time just making it go fast, because we also had to figure out, well, I had to spend some time getting it to stop. So we decided to go with the Boss, the old, they used to call it the old shotgun Hemi out of the Boss 429 from 1969. None of those engines are available anymore, but there are aftermarket people, Alan Root, that's making them for aftermarket purposes. So we contacted him and got all the basic pieces together. SBO, Lee Morris and his guys over there helped us out quite a bit.
So you said 69, though?
It's a 69 vintage engine.
Okay.
That was the last of the big blocks, one of the last of the big blocks. And so we got together with the guys at SBO. They said, yeah, we'll sort through this stuff for you guys. Jack Roush, and we got with Jack Roush and said, can you build this car for us? And then we talked to the chassis guys, because they had to do the other half of the equation, was stop this thing. And we got a lot of help and support. Naturally, on a car like this, everybody wants to participate in it, and it was a lot of fun.
Tell me about the stress on the structure of the vehicle. We were talking about the extra supports in there to get it to stop. And the characteristic you mentioned too of it floating up.
Yeah, well, when you do a car with this kind of power, invariably you're going to be bending the chassis quite a bit. And so this car here has got quite a bit of reinforcement from the front to the rear, tying the front to the rear to keep it from bending. Because you don't want any extra body motion. All you want to do is put all the power to the ground right now. Because any amount of time you spend bending the body is time that you're not accelerating or stopping, vice versa.
Is this like the most powerful vehicle ever put out?
I think it's no, actually, this is not the most powerful vehicle. I mean, if you look at the Ford Indy engines, they actually put out more power than this. They just do it at super high RPM, and that's not the kind of car we're gonna build here. This for a production facsimile, this is probably the most powerful. But Ford has built a lot more powerful engines than this.
What happened then to Chevy with this contest? I mean, do you know why they're not around or why it's not going to happen?
Well, we brought Mr. Drew Harden in from Hot Rod Magazine, who was Peterson midstream decided that they didn't want to cover it in Motor Trend Magazine. They wanted to cover it in their Hot Rod Magazine, which is in fact a bigger publication. So Drew came into town, had a meeting set up with us in the morning, a meeting set up with Chevrolet in that afternoon, and he says, "Are you guys ready to go?" I said, "Absolutely." And we showed him the car. He was all excited, pumped up. That afternoon he went to Warren, and he talked to my counterpart, John Moss. And apparently Chevrolet at the last minute decided that they'd had enough exposure with their car and they didn't really have time for this.
So why is the question?
Well, I'd like to think that they didn't think they could win.
What happens with this now?
If they thought they could win, I suspect they'd beat her.
What happens with this vehicle after this tour in September here?
Well, we got a couple of magazine people that want to shoot the car because there's a lot of enthusiasts out there that want to see this kind of car and what Ford's done with it. But after that, it just basically we hand it over to Jerry Green at SVL, and it's going to go on the show circuit as part of the normal caravan of hot cars that they have with their, at the major events across the country.
This must be like the ultimate for you in terms of just,
Oh, yeah.
it's like play.
Yeah, well, this is my dream car. You know, it's one thing to be. I mean, how many people are going to be able to combine the new Mustang with what I consider the most charismatic motor Ford ever built for production? And that's the. They used to call this the Blue Crescent. They used to call it the Shotgun. There are a lot of names for this engine.
What? How many different branches of the company are in on this in terms of when you collaborate? When you draw people in regarding suspension and stuff like that.
Well, there's probably more than I know because a lot of guys probably don't want people to know they're involved in this, but there's been a lot of people working on this car. This is the kind of stuff that people will work after hours for, and the kind of thing that people will do, beyond, their normal job.
It's like a toy.
Yeah, this is really is. It really creates a lot of esprit de corps with the engineers that are working on it. I think it's my understanding that the mechanics of each daily where this car was built, and the mechanics at Roush are just, they come in every morning, they look at this thing and say, wow. It's just great to be a part of it.
In all seriousness, do you ever think it'll go up against the Camaro?
Well, it depends what the Camaro guys do. I mean, it's one of these things. They probably backed out because they don't think they can win right now. But you know what? I don't think that's the end of the story.
You think they'll come back?
Well, they'll figure out something. They can only take so much ribbing in the press, and once the stories of this car get out, and the press works them over a little bit, they'll probably come back and respond.
Give me, before we finish up, rattle off some characteristics here in terms of, granted, you hope it gets in the 12-second area, but top end, what's it go, how fast up to 100, that kind of stuff.
This car will probably get to 100 miles an hour in less than 8 seconds, 0 to 100. We're hoping for under 12-second performance, 0 to 100 back to 0, which would put it ahead of the legendary Shelby Cobra, which on the last run, I think the last run with a fifth wheel did it in 13.5 seconds. So this will be a little bit faster than that. Top speed, this car is not built for top speed, so nobody's ever going to drive it at top speed. I mean, we can make some computer projections with the kind of horsepower this thing has. Theoretically, you could do 165, maybe 170 miles an hour, but we're never going to do that with it. The car's not built for that. And she'll stop from 100 miles an hour in probably 4 seconds or less. So, I mean, those are some pretty sensational figures.
The last question is in regards to the 0 to 100 to 0 test. I don't know, I haven't been around racing, but I don't know how standard or long running that kind of a test has been as the mark of a car, you know what I'm saying? And what kind of stress that puts on a vehicle.
Well, the stress is phenomenal because you're stressing the components in one direction in the acceleration, and then just the opposite when you're trying to stop. I think the reason the 0 to 100 back to 0 thing got going again is there's a lot of nostalgia going on right now in the country, and somebody, some magazine guy somewhere went back and said, "Hey, did you guys know that the Cobra did 0 to 100 back to 0 in 10 seconds?" I mean, that's been the standard legendary numbers. Everybody talks about it, but nobody ever really does it because that's kind of a dangerous thing to do. To go as fast as you can to 100 and then cram on the brakes as fast as you can. So I guess they dreamt this up as another way to sell magazines. Basically, and they said, "Does anybody want to compete?" So
okay, we got what we need. Thanks, John.
okay, good.
Okay, we're on.
All right.
We have 4 minutes.
No problem. I'm interested about the engine. If you can tell me, I don't know a heck of a lot, to be perfectly honest with you, but where it came from, all right. Obviously, you knew you had to get a lot of horses in order to take on the Camaro.
Yes, definitely. It's a 604 cubic inch motor, all aluminum heads, block, all alloy set up. It's fuel injection. Roush built the engine for us, did all the machining work, all the assembly work, the whole powertrain, in fact, with the C6 automatic transmission. It's run on the dyno. We ran 670 horsepower, 691 foot-pounds, so it's plenty strong. And in fact, it's causing our biggest problem is getting traction out of the hole on the launch. So
to the layperson, how do you describe the significance and the size and the power that this engine delivers? I mean, how do you compare?
I guess the best way to compare is look at the horsepower and torque, and it's probably about equivalent to 3 production Mustang motors. And that would be the best way to say, if you look at the engine, just how much power we have.
3 in 1.
That's right. You take 3 Mustang motors and put it in the same car, and hook them all together, and that's really what we're driving the wheels with. And that's why it's we've got a lot more tire on the car, beefed up suspension, braking, all sorts, and we're still having trouble hooking up the car and pulling away smoothly. So it's once the tires hook in and we start going down the track, the car is just blindingly fast. It really accelerates hard.
A little tongue-in-cheek, but do you have any theory as to why Camaro is not going to race, at least this time around?
Well, I spoke with Drew Harden, who's one of the editors of Hot Rod, and his words were they said they have enough publicity with the car, and they said to him that any further publicity could be negative. And he took the liberty of translating it as that they were afraid to lose. So those weren't my words, but that's what they said.
John had confessed to that some people from a lot of different divisions were in on this, even kind of on their own time.
Sure.
Give me an idea what it is. I mean, it had to be a fun project.
Definitely. Well, there's a lot of performance people at Ford, and that's I guess part of why we did this project is to show people out there it's not just there is fuel economy, there's crash issues, there's all the things in producing a production car and making a car for the average buyer on the street. But there's a lot of performance people who run cars on weekends, run them in the evenings down at Flat Rock, all the tracks around here, run Trans Am, a lot of different performance people. We grab people from throughout the company to get their ideas on the car. They said, if you're going to run that much power, do this with the rear axle. If you're going to run that kind of power, run this on the brakes. A lot of suggestions. We had people from chassis, people from powertrain, people from the Mustang program, of course, throughout SVE, SVO, all the different performance areas, and people from everywhere in the company.
Have you ever been involved in a project like that?
Not of this level, no. SVE, we do performance cars, but again, much tamer than this, to try and do cars for the average buyer that wants a little more power, or I should say above the average driver, above average buyer, to get a performance car off the regular production car line. So we are working on other performance cars, but nothing at this level.
Anything else you'd like to add now that you've seen it to fruition here and see it on the track?
Well, it's I guess it's a good example of teamwork. You can't do a project like this on your own, and it shows that a lot of different people can throw their ideas at the car, and programs like this or projects like this give people within the company a chance to kind of get away from their everyday job and throw some of their ideas or concepts at it, and that's really what's happened. A lot of different people, things they had in the back of their head or things they've tried on their own cars that at work they sent our way, and we tried to implement them as much as we could. And it really let a lot of people at Ford get excited about the products we're doing and go back to their daily job with maybe a little more excitement, knowing that they've contributed to this one.
Great. You were great.
That's a high effort stop. It's a manual brakes.
I did that to the white car, but I put, it's got the white 1-inch bore, I made it with manual.
This is supposed to be like a pre-production, possibly for '96. It's all one unit. It sits here like this. This is the the business end, and this is where it picks up the fluid from. And it uses brake fluid as the hydraulic medium. It doesn't use ATF. So there's an extra reservoir over there on the side. I don't know if you can see the dividing line here in front of your rear cylinders. And it just keeps on recirculating. And it's a really nice unit. It really is.
Should run better. Yeah, should run better. I mean, it's mile an hour down. I would expect to shut down. Yeah, okay, I'm going to take it down again as soon as it pulls over.
Can I do it?
He's 4/10 of a second down.
See what it's like? That's impressive, 1170 through the mufflers,
Yeah, that is.
With some slicks, I might, I mean, those are pretty good, but,
Now I know.
You know what we need now? We need a facility like this.
As I'm reading the book, and you're commenting about how, you staffed up getting people registering cars. Well, you had a facility manager who was registering cars.
You didn't say that.
Gloves?
Here's the is that the master of disaster?
Are we gonna see a real time now? Is that it?
Well, he's good. Hey, he's damn good, they say.
It might go faster than 1070 or 1170.
Is he as good as they say he is?
.45 with a 622 and a half.
Not bad.
That's about half
Your
throttle.
60 foot. 2.2. You just gotta squeeze it off. I mean, did you go wide open?
No, that's half throttle.
Was it really?
Yeah.
What do you feel like?
Went pretty good, but just there's no sign of traction. That was like half. I just rolled into it.
Did you?
But I rolled quick, you know, but about half throttle,
You just gotta.
and I just waited until. Actually, I was the second gear before I was wide open.
It's too strong to grip.
Yeah, it's too strong.
It just vaporizes the tires. You just gotta.
We gotta do this run when you guys get in the car.
You want to go in it? I say strap 'em on top.
Get you in the back seat. Oh, you can't get in the back seat.
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, he could. It's just gonna be uncomfortable as hell.
All right,
I'll
22.
try.
That was like half throttle.
He ran what, 11.7?
No sound.
I gotta do this. I gotta beat him now. See, this is a
Well, get
competition.
your ass in the car.
Is it ready?
Well, let's let it cool down about 10 minutes.
Let it ride with you.
Just think, hey, by the way, we're talking about converters.
Awesome. Awesome. Are you ready? Okay. 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 Too far?
I want you to back up and get this way about 1 foot. This is the start line. Okay, now just stop.
Okay.
You're ready now.
All right.
Put your window up.
Window up, bud. And I hope we come out of this alive.
You're gonna have to do the best you can.
Okay.
copy of this. Great. Just give me a copy of all the raw footage you took of this.
Okay, all set.
You can buy all these components. The intake manifold was designed by my company and manufactured by my farmed over production market. It's like the old days with a Holly carburetor. So you have a primary and then you have a section of gas because of the rate of opening. The car just jumps. I mean, it's almost uncontrollable. But with this dual split type of a it's arcade.
Okay.
Yep, we're rolling.
Okay, here we go. Now remember, the Boss was to compete with the so-called baddest car on the planet, the ZL1 Camaro with its 572 cubic foot engine, right? Cubic inch. That'd be 572 cubic feet. It's a monster car, isn't it? Now remember, the Boss was built with the intention of competing against the supposed baddest car on the planet, the ZL1 Camaro with its 572 cubic inch engine. But there will be no competition, at least this fall, because Chevy is not interested. You ready? Now remember, the Boss was built with the intention of going head-to-head against the supposed baddest car. Now remember, the Boss was built with the intention of going head-to-head against the self-proclaimed baddest car on the planet, the ZL1 Camaro with its 572 cubic inch engine. But there will be no competition, at least this fall, because Chevy is not interested. Give me one more if you don't mind.
All righty.
When you're ready, let's change my phrasing. Now remember, the Boss was built with the intention of competing against the car that had been dubbed the baddest on the planet, the ZL1 Camaro with a 572 cubic inch engine. But there will be no competition, at least for now, because Chevy is not interested.